Wapendwa, and welcome to this show. It's the Bible Journey. Thank you very much for joining us on this discussion. May God bless you, and we hope that you'll be blessed by our discussion today. Today, we are in the book of Exodus and in chapter 26. Now, after God has finished talking about the elements of the sanctuary, now he goes to the details of how the sanctuary should be. And to elaborate more on that, I have with me my guests here. As usual, I have Pastor Peter Nyagah. Welcome, Pastor, to this discussion.
Thank you so much, Ratemo.
You look sharp.
Oh, thank you. You too.
Thank you. And we also have Pastor, another sharp one, Pastor Dan Abuya.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
and on my right-hand side is staring at his Bible. That is Pastor Kabira, Kabira.
Appreciate.
Ready for the discussion?
Yeah.
Welcome. Now, before we get to that discussion, let's have a word of prayer, and I'll request Pastor Kabira, you can lead us in the same.
Dear Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to have a look at what the sanctuary that you gave to Moses, what it embodies, what it says, and the relation with which we have with it in heaven. All this is for the salvation of our souls and for the betterment of our life here on earth. May we be able to understand your word well, for we pray this in Jesus' name.
Amen. Now, welcome, my dear pastors, to this discussion, the book of Exodus and chapter 26. Yeah, let's now look, of course, as I have already mentioned or alluded to, is that God has given us the details of what shall be in that particular tabernacle. And now he comes out to explain how the tabernacle or the sanctuary should be. And I think it's important to mention that the sanctuary, as we already alluded to, is the same word as the tabernacle. So it's the same thing that he's talking about. Now in verse 1, he says, "Moreover, you shall make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine woolen linen and blue, purple, and scarlet thread. With artistic design of cherubim, you shall weave them." Of course, we remember in chapter 26, he had already said that in the offering, some of those things that should be there in verse 4 is blue, purple, and scarlet thread, fine linen, and goat's hairs. So, of course, there is a provision for that. After the people have given the offering, this is where they should be used. That's but right. Now, before we even get to understand that verse more clearer, because we really want to look at the elements of how this sanctuary should be built. Introductions, Pastor Kabira.
For me, I will spend my minutes on introduction to show the transition from the things that are inside to now the outside. Chapter 25 was about things that are inside. Chapter 26 is now the outer. God begins with the inside and then ultimately ends with the outside. His entire relationship with the human beings was also the same. He began with the inside and then he ended with the outside. He wants the change first. It will not be church. Let me just call it tabernacle as a church for the time being. He will not give the tabernacle, he will not give the church without first giving the things, the services that are inside. The Ark of the Covenant, the table of the shewbread, the gold lampstand, all that stands for a particular service, for a particular function of the church or the tabernacle that was to offer. So he begins with what is inside, and then he gradually comes now to what is outside. God transforms us, begins our relationship, our worship should begin from the inside, and then it will transform itself into outwards.
Wow.
You can imagine if the temple was, inside was total gold, outside was just random things. It would look ish. If it was outside gold and inside it was not so well, or if it was open, what God is doing, my introduction for this tabernacle, I want to present it as what God said. Pharisees would wash the cup outside, but inside it was dirty. But God would rather have the inside clean than even the outside. But of course he wants it, there's no way a cup can be inside clean. When the inside
is transformed, then the outside will
becomes
be taken
natural.
care of.
And that's a good example of how God gives his own own directions concerning this.
Wow. I had never imagined in that way. Pastor Abuya.
Perhaps another outstanding element is the way it's being built. the Lord takes into account their situation at the moment. They are still wandering. I mean, they're on the move. So what God commands is that this is built, it's portable. Yeah. Actually, even that term, now tabernacle, it's tent-like. Yeah, such that as they move in the wilderness, it can easily be carried. So you are going to see rings with where beams also, which can be used to carry. The levers could use to hoist high, perhaps put on the shoulders in between there. They are part of the, is it the blueprint or the design here? Because they are on the move, they haven't settled, and so that provision had to be made.
If you can only remind us what you mean by blueprint.
A blueprint is the plan.
In terms of from where we have come from in Exodus 25.
Yeah, that is a pattern, a model, a design of what Moses was shown up at the mountain. Yeah.
Okay.
So 25 verse 9, that's what you're saying?
Yeah, verse 9.
That's verse 9.
According to what he saw
According
on the
to
mount, what
that
God
is
showed him from heaven.
And
right. Now, Pastor Nyagah.
I think they have said what really would be important as a way of introducing this chapter. And maybe to say that, this was a life of nomads. They used to live in tents. So the difference between this tent and the other tent is in the design, in the sophistry
that is right.
that comes in. God has come in with a very new design, very new, the interior, furnishing of this particular sanctuary. It was something to behold. So it was, to me, it was a unique thing in the wilderness, and the fact that again it was a portable thing. It was very unique. Very unique.
I want us to consider a text so that you appreciate, because the whole of this chapter actually, it brings out almost the same principle. So we're getting into details, and you can only appreciate while we're reading all this, really the importance of grasping the principle behind it. But the point is, the tents of the Israelites themselves, they weren't cheap. They were so lovely, as Balaam testifies. So you can imagine to what level then you have to build a tent, a tabernacle of God to create a distinction. So now you appreciate the detail that is going to go into this tabernacle that we are talking about here. It is very elaborate.
Pastor Kabira, as you come in...
I got it. Sorry, it's Numbers 24. Sorry, not 23. So when Balaam now goes to verse 4, this is what he does. He took up his oracle and said, "The utterance of Balaam, the son of Beor, the utterance of the man whose eyes are opened, the utterance of him whose ears the words of God, who sees the vision of the Almighty, who falls down with eyes wide open." Remember, they are on a mountain. Then verse 5, he's not in control of himself because the Spirit captures him. And this is what he says: "How lovely are your tents, O Jacob." They're down there on the valley, all of them lined up, camped. So your dwellings, O Israel, how lovely are they, like valleys that stretch out. So the Israelites themselves, they were not in some tattered refugee camp.
No.
Yes, they are slaves, but God had made his own provision in his own ways. So the tabernacle had to be a notch higher. The distinction had to befit the dwelling of God.
Wow.
Right.
Verse 1, Pastor Kabira, "You shall make me the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine woven linen and blue, purple, and scarlet thread. With artistic design of cherubim, you shall weave them."
Man, I don't know. I really wish we had it here as a small sample. This is more than 4,500 years ago. From today, more than 4,500 years ago.
Okay.
Look, imagine, just imagine where we were. Let me even use my local context as Kenya. 100 years ago, where were we? In terms of infrastructure, in terms of, just imagine just the cloth itself, the curtain. This is the curtain. A blue, fine woven linen blue, purple, and scarlet, and red, a shade of red, with artistic designs of cherubim. Just have a mental picture of that curtain. Tell me if it's not something that will then be relevant 500 years from now. Because I'm imagining even if there was a way I could construct a church, put this much gold with acacia, like we were reading before, with acacia, and then cover with gold, put a pulpit of cherubims, or on a, like the Ark of the Covenant. Just imagine that mental picture, and tell me if God was not so far ahead of our times that his knowledge, the Bible, 1 Corinthians 1:18, says, is it cleverness? His foolishness is too much even for us. If you will consider him foolish anyway. Jesus asked that a temple be built, but with the finest of them all, with, I was trying to do, what do we call? These people who do aesthetics and interior decor. They were saying that they were matching. When you are able to match blue, purple, and red, this scarlet, it does not reflect badly. Rather, it matches so well.
It's beautiful.
It's pretty. Then now imagine with a cloth that has got threads, artistic designs of a cherubim.
Of cherubims.
Leave alone, it's like they are drawn, but they're threaded in. This was when? So many years ago. That tells me really that if God had just told Moses, just do as I say, because even if Moses will outthink himself, he will not even come close to something of this side.
Yeah, sure. And the length of each curtain shall be 28 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits, and every one of the curtains shall have the same measurement. 5 curtains shall be coupled in one another, and the other 5 curtains shall be coupled to another. And you shall make, so he's also again so particular about the lengths and the width.
Yes. Now, it's like God is like a master architect. He has balanced everything to the right way, so that nothing, I was reading here, it says even the extra part will be able to be used. In terms of, there was nothing that will go to waste. The 5 of them, the 13 meter long and 6 meter wide curtains, the 13 meter long and 1.8 and 13 meters wide, they were able, if you do it, you'll be able to see, it's like, how do I say, in terms of proportions, it's proportional. It's so proportional in terms of a ratio. You may not see it, but 6 meters into 1.8 is very proportional of it all. And then them being 10 will automatically be able to have a balance that you'll be able to do. For me, I may not be so good in details, but I want to appreciate the masterpiece that God is creating, such that there is nothing that will say, it's like remains, like it's not used. It's like it's like it walishona wakafika hapa katikati, and then there was like 1 meter loose of this kind. You will see here, they'll say that loose part was intentionally created, was intentionally put so that it will cover the wood on the other hand.
Yes,
that's right.
Pastor
yeah, the detail here is terrific, and the beauty that comes out. You go to verse 6, for example, you shall make 50 clasps of gold and couple the curtains together with the clasps so that it may be one tabernacle. So this is like the joinery. So what you're thinking of is, it's like this. You have got curtains running down in pieces that can be joined together. What is joining this piece of curtain together to the next? It is these clasps, the threads of gold. Imagine the picture, the colors described already by Pastor Kabira, then add gold threads, now kind of like sewing. It's like you have got holes that you're using to join up together.
It's like pegs.
That is a lovely thing. And the whole thing, some may think of extravagance and show off, but that is not the point. Rather, it's to bring out the magnificence of God. Sometimes they say that go and worship God in the beauty of his holiness. There's that song, the beauty of his holiness. So, this is meant to bring out the supreme being that you're going to worship. Make sure that it is beyond the common. It is above
what
The common,
Wow,
what
wow.
you
Pastor
used
Nyagah.
I'm just lost of words when I look at the design of God and the accomplishment in this tabernacle. I mean, one would just be lost thinking, why all this? Why not have a structure with walls and people come and worship and go? Why these fine details? To me, it speaks of excellence of God. God is not an abstract God. He is not a mediocre God. He is very particular, but also very strategic. And he exactly places, you look at how he created the universe, the design of the universe. Placing mountains where they are, waters where they are, human anatomy and all that. He's a great designer. And so anything God does, it comes out with a beauty that no human mind can imagine of. And that is what we are finding. But also to appreciate that God also is communicating that he owns everything and he serves the best.
That's right.
So he is making a sanctuary, a tabernacle, where he is going to stay. He's coming to stay with the people. It needs to be the best of a human mind can imagine.
And you look at verse 7, you shall also make curtains of goat's hair to be a tent over the tabernacle. You shall make 11 curtains. The length of each curtain shall be 30 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits, and the 11 curtains shall all have the same measurements. And you shall couple 5 curtains by themselves and 6 curtains by themselves, and you shall double over the 6th curtain at the front of the tent. I think God must have already provided somebody who should be doing this, because I see a lot of, should I say, engineering in this, and a lot of design, and you know, what he's saying, of course, is just going to fix, but it needs somebody who, you know, has that skill.
Have you ever imagined how Noah built the ark? You know, the ark today, up to today, is a wonder.
Yeah, sure.
It's a wonder. How you'd make such a thing those days and float in the water, in not just water, terrible flood, keeping people safe and animals. You see, you need to appreciate Ratemo, that we don't own knowledge.
Sure.
In fact,
That's
what
right.
you know, you're talking about architect, and you know, so you imagine these people who put up buildings like
this
what is
structure.
this before God? I
To
mean,
me, it's so big, so, you know, something spectacular.
so whenever God assigns you, he gives you the enablings. He equips you. So if he told to Moses, let them, you know, he didn't tell Moses, build for me a sanctuary. Let them. The building was to be done by the children of Israel. And so God was to provide for the skill and expertise that was required through those people. He knew who to use to do what. But again, also, as I said, these are nomadic, you know, nation. You know, they live in tents. So tent making is a common thing to them. When you see, like, you know, when you talk about the hair of the goat, it's like, you know, it's like this carpet you see we are sitting on. It's like what we call felt today. The felt. These are very fine material that provides some kind of you know, warmth, and that is what we maybe a close, you know, thing to what we are talking about here. That the hair of the goat. And you know, you can imagine when it is in a design within the interior of a building, and the beauty that it can create now, and also the warmth that it brings in. So God knew exactly that this thing called sanctuary, tabernacle, his dwelling place, should be an attraction for people.
Even the church should be attractive to people. And Pastor, why this particular goat hair? And I don't know, is he just appreciating what they own as a people? They are nomads, they have goats and all this stuff, or I really don't know.
I just want us to imagine when God in chapter 25 just basically said, go bring for me gold, silver, bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, fine linen and goat's hair, ram skins dyed red, badger skins and acacia wood, oil for the light and spices for the anointing oil, onyx stones and stones to be made in effort. And he basically just gave a list. And then he just kept quiet. You know, because the next instructions come later. I imagine people being told, guys, we just want you to contribute 1, 2, 3, 4. Nobody has an idea what it will be made into. So everybody is on, I have gold, yeah. Goat skin, yeah, we do tents with it, but let's see. Anyway, God is asking about it. He gives out and all these things. Can you imagine if ever, even if Moses and Aaron and the rest, if they ever imagined the little contribution they had given, if it was going to do something this magnificent? Goat, if you were asked, bring some goat skin, goat hair, you'll think like, nah, why would we really need goat hair for the time being?
Right.
Until God has a purpose for it. That's when you, oh, now it makes sense. It makes sense. Because maybe if I was asked to do something wonderful, as an architect, probably I will do a solid gold temple. Solid gold, wonderful. But then God would laugh at me and ask me, how are you going to carry it through the desert? And I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense. So what do I do? But God is able to mix everything together. This goat hair is the toughest one. They say, it's tougher than even cows or whatever, because naturally goats are tougher. So probably God has used what you have. He did not ask them for what they did not have. He asked for what they have and made it magnificent so much that it was functional.
Wow.
And also the goat's you know, it produces really the finest.
The finest, yeah. Sure. Now, let's take a short break on our discussion, and I hope that our viewer is able to appreciate the kind of, do I call it structure?
That's right.
Yeah, the kind of structure that he wants to put in place and how magnificent it is. When you look at the structures around, I don't think there is any that comes closer to what God is describing here. We are taking a short break on the Bible Journey. We'll be back right shortly. Welcome back to this show, is the Bible Journey. Thank you very much for joining us on this discussion. This is the second segment of this particular discussion, and we are concentrating on the book of Exodus chapter 26. And of course, with me are Pastor Peter Nyagah, Pastor Dan Abuya, and Pastor Kabira Wakabira. Welcome back to the discussion. Now, it's all about description. God is trying to describe how the tabernacle should be. And I'm thinking like it's so crucial why he should have a whole chapter concentrating on that, because basically it's about the tabernacle. And we have looked at the previous verses. And now let me maybe just bring you to verse 14, which I think when you look at it, it's something different. It says, you shall also make a covering of ram skin dyed red for the tent, and a covering of badger skins. So when you look at that, Pastor Nyagah, I'm wondering, what would you say about this, especially considering ram skin, dyed red, and badger skin?
Yeah, you see, there's the dried skin and then dyeing it red. and then mounting it on top of it. These are the skin. Of course, the badger skin could be close to a cow's skin. And again, going through the same process. And then there are 4 that we put together. To me, it only makes sense when we are saying we are trying to get something very opaque, something that does not allow light to penetrate through. And that's why we are putting them side by side, 4 of them. So that layer is very thick. And then because it's dyed red, then it cannot allow the light to come through very fast. Because
so there's no light eventually.
There's no light because the tabernacle, into the tabernacle, there's light. You remember we have already
the
seen
candlesticks.
Yeah, we already saw the issues of the lamps and the candlesticks, which that light should be on throughout because it's the glory of God in the tabernacle. So we are first to create darkness in the room, so that then we can put on the. It's now like with this studio here with all these lighting system. Of course, our viewers may not be able to appreciate, but there's a lot of light inside this room. If you put off all these lights, this room will be dark. Yeah. So we darken it so that now we appreciate the light. So. And much of the details we see in this chapter has to do with, one, enabling God to achieve the intended purpose for the apparatus we see inside. You know, we in chapter 24, we looked at the showbread, we look at all those things we looked at. And each of them has a key component. Now, the way the structure is made should be able to support the architectural design and finishing of this particular building should be able to support the intended purpose. And so that's what informs a lot of these curtains you see and the kind of materials chosen, acacia and standing and all those things, so that they bring out the intended purpose.
Other artistic artists, creative minds have also suggested that, the skins dyed red. So daytime, they will ensure no light holes, you can't see through. But at night now, when the golden lamps light up, the reflection,
the effect,
that effect, now you will see the outlines of those articles. They must see it, and then that abiding presence of God is propagated. So some of this we can only conjecture, but really the whole point comes out clearly that God was very intentional in the design that he gives. You can believe that it was functional. God is not a frivolous. He's not a frivolous God. So you can trust that every single detail is giving here. Sometimes we may lack explanation for some of these items, but then everything was on point. And as he reveals more, some of those more creative, those who appreciate why ram skin, for example, whereas they will tell you that it's of a higher, tender quality than
generally
cow skin.
Yeah, this is about art, appreciating art and
the finest.
Yeah, the finest of
quality.
In
quality.
And verse 15, and for the tabernacle you shall make the boards of acacia wood, standing upright. 10 cubits shall be the length of a board, and a cubit and a half shall be the width of each board. 2 tenons shall be in each board for binding one to another. Thus you shall make for all the boards of the tabernacle. And you shall make the boards of the tabernacle 20 boards for the south side. Verse up to verse 18, Pastor Kabira.
15 to 30 actually now talks about the framework of the tabernacle now. He has finished talking about the contents of the walls, the contents of every side. Those are now the curtains, because they were not using walls, but those walls need mounting.
That's right.
That mounting is now what he's referring to now as the boards of acacia. That were to be 10 cubits, that is 10 cubits and half a cubit wide, 1.5 wide. They will be able, their massive structure will be able to support the temple, but at the same time they are designed such that, you see, they have got sockets such that they are able to join well. When it will be time to disassemble, it will be easy. Just unplug, put them together. Even for ease of carrying, if you want, if the pillars are of the same size, the four corners and the stands are able to be the same size, when you'll be carrying them, you know what is what for where.
That's right.
But if they were mixed up, you'll be trying here and there, there. So you can now see God being particular and saying, use these boards of acacia that will be standing upright. They'll be this size, so that when the entire, I don't want to speak all of it, but the entire description goes from verse 15 all the way to verse 30, talking about corners. He says, on the north side, on this other side, such that every side is very specific, with its own boards, with its own pillars, with its own. These pillars and these boards, their sizes will fit exactly with the curtains.
Right. Yeah. And you know, further, if you want to appreciate more the whole point here, you go to the actual temple. When now they have settled in Canaan, Solomon's temple, the way it was built, it reflects on the same thing.
Okay.
And I just want you to hear this in 1 Kings 5:17. The king commanded them to quarry large stones, costly stones, and hewn, that is sculpted, finely cut stones to lay the foundation of the temple. And exactly the same principle that Pastor Wakabira has pointed out, that every fitting, it was determined this will go on the western side, maybe on the third course. That is also what happens, because these stones in that same 1 Kings chapter 6-7, it says that when it was built, the stone built with stone finished at the quarry. So the stones will be cut up at the quarry, so that no hammer, chisel, or any iron tool was had in the temple while it was being built. In other words, a block would be brought and fixed exactly where it was meant to be, without any hassles around here. So this same principle, you find it not only in the permanent temple, but also there, this movable temple. Okay. When they were going to move to the next campsite, there is not going to be, you know, an excuse that, well, what happened with the tabernacle? It doesn't look exactly good. Oh, no, you know, there is no confusion, because every detail is given up. Even the thickness, by the way, I don't know what verse is that. These sheets also, I think they were meant to be 3 inches thick. You know, I mean, it was so particular. In other words, once again, the same principle being propagated. The God of order, a God who determines how he's to be worshipped, not just because he's arbitrary, really, but because he's the one who knows. He's the one who knows how worship should be. So we need just to let him teach us out how to do it.
Yeah, maybe again also to say that you it should be interesting to discover that, especially now where we are reading about the boards. With you know, the poles made of the acacia, and then the boards and being joined. There's a lot of silver, mention of silver. Actually, very expensive. A lot of silver is being used in this. And maybe the significance of silver in redemption is very key.
How is that?
In the scriptures, silver is associated with the price of redemption, the price for redemption. It is that which buys the exchange of redemption. Okay. So that we know Jesus was sold by that silver of coins of silver. Did we say that? That pieces of silver. And there are several texts in the Bible, like you read Exodus 21 verse 32, Leviticus 5:15, 27:6 of same Leviticus, Numbers 18:16, Deuteronomy. It keeps on mentioning silver in terms of redemption. But not the way the description here, you know, creates a picture of like they're creating another wall inside. You know, it's something that is protecting the inner part of the tabernacle. But it is not completely covering it, because you know there are pillars. Then with the pillars are joined with this silver, and then there are curtains of gold that are dropping. Perhaps they're in the wilderness, and there's a lot of dust, maybe to protect also a lot of dust from getting in. Because again, silver is also good in, you know, when there's dust, silver is able to track a lot of dust close to it. So maybe God is designing all these things because of the situation. Because, you know, every design is informed by the situation on where you're putting up a structure.
So NEMA, you know, it was environmentally compliant.
Yes.
Really, that is the whole point, and you can trust that, that the environmental circumstances, they're well catered for.
Yes.
You're seeing double walling here. You know, the sheets, they are overlaid with on top of another. Of course, that now ensures strength of material and all that. Yes.
Remember, it's windy in the wilderness. This desert is very windy. So there is something that will be strong and firm. It's a tent, but that tent must be very firm like a house. Yeah.
So
A story I was told when we were going through the Sinai desert, many of us were light clothed because it was very hot. Then those who were there were telling us they don't get light clothed, they get heavy clothed.
Why?
Because, you know, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, now I'm seeing the principle behind it. The Bedouins who were there don't wear very minimal clothes. They cover themselves so much that even just the eyes are the ones that are remaining. They cover themselves completely. That is their way to become cold.
Okay, so
I'm surprised. I don't know if it's about sweating. The explanation was it's insulation. For us, we were removing and it was hotter. Now look at this temple. For it to become, if they had put some light material, you know, because it's hot, it will be hotter. The things that were inside would have even gone stale or bad, or even maybe the 1 week bread would not have been able to make it. But here is God using, I just remembered that when Pastor Dan was speaking about how God is able to outthink even us in our own way. We are using his blueprints today. And this was so long ago. So you can imagine all this was put such that it was very cool at the temple, at the tabernacle. Whereas this tabernacle was in the middle of a desert.
Yeah.
Everything would function in a desert if they had put metal. I loved chemistry. Gold and silver has got a high melting point. Before it gets hot and expands, it will require a lot of heat. If they had just put normal joinery, then things will be different. It will, the weight of the entire temple would sag on its own.
So entirely what you're saying is there is a lot of physics and chemistry. There's a lot of science generally going into the construction of this temple, of this tabernacle, because God understands the situation and is the master of science.
He's the master builder. I mean, Hebrews.
Maybe biblically, I'll just read a verse. It may not mean exactly like that because it has got another explanation. But 1 Corinthians, I already talked about it. 1 Corinthians 1:25. Because the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. I want to take the literal meaning of that. What we think is good, the buildings we have today, no matter how beautiful they are, they will not withstand the temperature of Mount Sinai. They will not survive. You see the wonderful churches we have today, I don't think they will, if they were put in Sinai, I don't think they will even last long. The houses we were able to see and we were seeing were just low, you know, they were very funny buildings, but somehow they are cool on their own.
And the inside.
On the inside. The outside may look, it may appear like they are dysfunctional, but really this was a magnificent, functional building that can be easily broken down, carried. It's light to carry, but at the same time efficient to be able to break it down. When the cloud moves, the priests and the Levites will know it's time to break it down. What is there? There are hooks already. They don't need the hooks. That God had, let me say, had thought about their next step before even their step.
That's right.
Remember, they have camped.
Yeah.
They are camping, right?
Yes.
And he did not watch them build a structure for me. Then when it's time to move, they'll be like, how do we move this thing?
Yeah.
So he had already thought of all those steps, all the way up to, remember in Jericho, how they defeated?
Yeah.
If they did not have the Ark of the Covenant with them going around, they would not have won. So that Ark needed to be carried by 4. It needed to be this. So God had thought of all these things up to when they will get to Canaan.
See, in other words, Nick, what we are saying, we can say with all authority, I'm not an architect, but I can speak to all Christian architects with all authority, that you want to get the coolest design, your next coolest design, come and read.
Consult the Bible.
Because you can't have any better design than these, the principles.
I would
And
even
now you
challenge
go
them.
to the countries, regions in the world where temperatures go extreme, and they have double walls. They are only
The
trying to
volley.
catch up with God, because you saw us here getting curtains and then doubling them up. So maintaining temperatures, cool in the day, and then in the night, when
It's
also it
warm
gets
enough.
very cold in the desert, it becomes warm. So because air is, captured in between there. But I think the essence now, maybe where you now want us to consider, is now moving to verse 31.
Yeah,
that's because
that's exactly
But before
what I
that
want
one,
to read.
just to mention on verse 30, which has actually is a repetition, it has appeared several times. since we started.
Alright.
Yeah.
Alright.
According to the pattern which you were shown on the mountain, it has been repeated several times. I think to me, I'm picking this repetition as a way of emphasis.
Yeah, it's
That God is very
emphasis.
keen, and I think to us as leaders of the churches, we have to communicate the vision that God has for His church the way He wants it.
All right.
I was just wondering, I was sitting, why this repetition? It has
seems
come
to
almost
be-
4 times now, according to the pattern that you show.
Don't do your own thing.
Don't do your own things. And many
Right.
times we'll be involving in serving God, but we are doing our own things. Are we sure that we are communicating the gospel of Christ in the very manner that He wanted, or we have brought on our own things in communicating the gospel?
Now, verse 31, briefly, touching on the 31, I think up to 34.
It's 31 and
35.
36 ideally.
It goes
just to
until-
put the two
yeah.
together.
You shall make a veil woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen. It shall be woven with an artistic design of cherubim. You shall hang it upon the 4 pillars of acacia wood overlaid with gold. Their hooks shall be gold upon 4 sockets of silver. As we move down, then we'll of course
Continue
look
to
at
verse 33, because these are critical
Okay,
thing. It's the
33.
partitioning now.
And
of
you
the
shall
tabernacle.
hang the veil from the clasps. Then you shall bring the ark of the testimony in there behind the veil. The veil shall be a divider for you between the holy place and the most holy.
Yeah, and it continues now. It tells you where to position what.
Yeah.
So really, this is a chapter that we have studied well, but still we have really tried to struggle to paint that vivid picture. But by the end of reading this chapter, already you have got a fully functional, standing structure, furnished already. That is really the whole point of chapter 26. Because now, verse 34 tells you, I don't know if you have seen the partitioning has been done. We've done the inner walls, we've done the outer walls, even the courts. That is what we've been trying to do here. With these boards, you saw, dimensions expanding, and then now it's saying, this is how you partition it. Already we have the holy place and the most holy. It is separated by this veil. Then verse 34, now where to position everything, which we talked about in chapter 25. That is the Ark of the Covenant, the golden lampstands, and the tape of shewbread. So you shall put the mercy seat upon the Ark of the testimony in the most holy, before the veil.
So those 2 in the most holy. Behind here.
No. This one, the mercy seat in the most holy, in front of the veil, beyond the veil. Then behind now,
And the
beyond
table,
is in front.
the ark of the testimony is
Just one
then
thing.
the
It's
now
mercy seat on
behind
top
now
of
the
it.
veil.
The
But
behind.
the
the
mercy
compartment of the holy, the most holy place.
Yeah.
So if this is a room here, then there's a veil here that divides me and you people. So inside there is the most holy place. So the Ark of Covenant is put there.
In
So
here.
I'm in this other compartment.
Yeah.
Are you asking
Now,
the mercy
this is the
seat?
holy place now. That's the holy place. This is the most holy place.
Yes,
In
yes.
here
It
is
actually
the
called
ark
it the
of
outside.
testimony.
Verse 35
And-
says, set the table outside the veil. So
Yeah.
inside the veil,
Is
that
the
is
Ark
the farthest part of now this structure, the
most holy
The
place.
most holy place. And so you put there the mercy seat, the Ark of the testimony is now in there, most holy. Now outside the veil, on the other side now,
This is the compartment.
which is now the holy place.
place.
Now set the table outside the veil and the lampstand across from the table. In other words, one is on this side,
This
one is
side.
on the north, the other is on the south here.
And when we talk
So-
about the table or the bread, remember the 12 bread?
shewbread.
The shewbread,
The table of shewbread,
And then lastly, in 36, you shall make a screen for the door of the tabernacle woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen made by a weaver. And you shall make for the screen 5 pillars of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold. Their hooks shall be gold, and you shall cast 5 sockets of bronze for them.
That's right.
That is the outside screen. Yes, it's now like
Protecting now the holy place.
now, yes, protecting now the
yard.
we have divided into 2, the most holy place
And the holy
and the holy place. Now there is an outer screen again. You know, it will still need to be covered in the end, so that now it partitions from where everyone will come in. And when they approach this one now, they will know this is the beginning of, you know, the most holy place, the holy place rather, and then
Then
onwards to the
holy,
most
yeah.
holy place.
And that veil, that is the veil that remains consistently until the cross,
Yes.
when we no longer need it, because now Christ comes and is what
And
was
splits.
torn
Was, okay.
right here.
So
Pastor
if we would create that
Pastor
picture now,
Nyagah.
if we would create that picture, assuming that now this is the tabernacle, okay? You see, I'm talking about where we are sitting, the carpet now. Let's have the demarcation of the carpet here.
Yeah.
So we are entering this way. So where you're sitting, that is the most holy place, eh? So where the Ark of the Covenant is. So as you get in the sanctuary gate, on the right side, so like now where I'm sitting now, if we're coming from this side, this is the right side. This is where we have the table of the show bread. Then on the left side, where we have that nice pot there, that is where we have the lampstand. So you come, then you get in. So there's a veil here. So the priests were coming up to this level, but the the high priest was getting to the most holy place once a year for the atonement. So much of the activities rather here were happening here between the bread and the light, because this is not represented the daily sacrifices.
The outer yard.
The outer part represents the daily sacrifices.
Wow. Thank you very much. And you know, it's quite a vivid and a good picture that God is presenting here. And of course, it's something that the children of Israel had to make, and he had to prescribe every measurement and every detail how things are supposed to be. And I hope that even our viewers back at home have learned this and just trying to appreciate this tabernacle that the Lord built for, asked them to build for him, so that he may dwell amongst them. That was in chapter 25, verse 8 and 9. So that was the specific purpose, that God needed to be amongst them. And as we have said, especially when you read Psalms 24, verse 1, everything in the world belongs to him. And therefore, this thing, this tabernacle had to be so magnificent, so spectacular, and representing the mighty God. I hope that you appreciate all this, and just on another note is that we really need to know how we serve God. We need to observe how we worship him, and even what we use in worshiping him. God bless you until next time.
Amen.
Safari ya kwenda Galilaya, mawimbi yakaanza kuvuma baharini. Wanafunzi wa Yesu wakajawa na hofu, Yesu Mwokozi amelala chomboni. Wanaamka, amka tunakufa, wakamuamsha Mwokozi Yesu. Mara Mwokozi kaamuru utulivu, mawimbi yakamtii Mwokozi. Walifunga safari ya kwenda Galilaya, mawimbi yakaanza kuvuma baharini. Wanafunzi wa Yesu wakajawa na hofu, Yesu Mwokozi amelala chomboni. Wanaamka, amka tunakufa, wakamuamsha Mwokozi Yesu. Mara Mwokozi kaamuru utulivu, mawimbi yakamtii Mwokozi. Pepo tulia, pepo tulia. Wanafunzi wa Yesu walishangaa, nani huyu pepo yanamtii? Kwa jina lake watu wapata shibe, kwa jina lake mapepo yatoroka, kwa jina lake wagonjwa wanaponywa, kwa jina lake wengi wanaokoka. Jina la Yesu kweli ni suluhisho, taja jina hilo kila wakati. Pepo tulia, pepo tulia. Wanafunzi wa Yesu walishangaa, nani huyu pepo yanamtii? Kwa jina lake watu wapata shibe, kwa jina lake mapepo yatoroka, kwa jina lake wagonjwa wanaponywa, kwa jina lake wengi wanaokoka. Jina la Yesu kweli ni suluhisho, taja jina hilo kila wakati. Jina la Yesu kweli ni suluhisho, taja jina hilo kila wakati. Twayumbishwa na mambo ya dunia wapendwa, mioyoni twatikiswa, hatuna utulivu. Ni hakika za dunia za tusomba, twafurahia yasiyodumu kamwe. Bwana arudipo na ufalume wake, twashuhudia yona zitakoma. Mwokozi ataamuru utulivu, shida zetu ni kweli zitakoma. Twayumbishwa na mambo ya dunia wapendwa, mioyoni twatikiswa, hatuna utulivu. Ni hakika za dunia za tusomba, twafurahia yasiyodumu kamwe. Bwana arudipo na ufalume wake, twashuhudia yona zitakoma. Mwokozi ataamuru utulivu, shida zetu ni kweli zitakoma. Pepo tulia, pepo tulia. Wanafunzi wa Yesu walishangaa, nani huyu pepo yanamtii? Kwa jina lake watu wapata shibe, kwa jina lake mapepo yatoroka, kwa jina lake wagonjwa wanaponywa, kwa jina lake wengi wanaokoka. Jina la Yesu kweli ni suluhisho, taja jina hilo kila wakati. Pepo tulia, pepo tulia. Wanafunzi wa Yesu walishangaa, nani huyu pepo yanamtii? Kwa jina lake watu wapata shibe, kwa jina lake mapepo yatoroka, kwa jina lake wagonjwa wanaponywa, kwa jina lake wengi wanaokoka. Jina la Yesu kweli ni suluhisho, taja jina hilo kila wakati. Jina la Yesu kweli ni suluhisho, taja jina hilo kila wakati. Walishangaa, nani huyu pepo yanamtii? Kwa jina lake watu wapata shibe, kwa jina lake mapepo yatoroka, kwa jina lake wagonjwa wanaponywa, kwa jina lake wengi wanaokoka. Jina la Yesu kweli ni suluhisho, taja jina hilo kila wakati. Pepo tulia, pepo tulia. Wanafunzi wa Yesu walishangaa, nani huyu pepo yanamtii? Kwa Kwa jina lake watu wapata shibe, kwa jina lake mapepo yatoroka, kwa jina lake wagonjwa wanaponywa, kwa jina lake wengi wanaokoka. Jina la Yesu kweli ni suluhisho, taja jina hilo kila wakati. Jina la Yesu kweli ni suluhisho, taja jina hilo kila wakati. Jina la Yesu kweli ni suluhisho, taja jina hilo kila wakati. Jina la Yesu kweli ni suluhisho, taja jina hilo kila wakati. Natamani kufika mbinguni.